The end is near, and everything Peacemaker has fought for is about to collapse. Friends turn into enemies, enemies grow stronger, and one last battle will decide who survives. This is not just another mission, this is the final test of loyalty, courage, and sacrifice. Peacemaker never wanted to be a hero in the traditional sense. For him, being a hero meant doing whatever it takes, no matter how dirty, bloody, or complicated it became. But now, standing at the edge of the final fight, even he begins to question what all of it has meant. The team he built, the family he never thought he would have, is beginning to crack under pressure. Every decision weighs heavier. Every mistake feels impossible to undo. The chaos of past battles echoes in his mind, but this time, the stakes are greater. This isn't just about saving the world, it's about saving the people he cares about. And proving to himself that he is more than the weapon the world sees him as. The villain now known as Full Nelson has revealed his true hand. Ruthless, merciless, and hungry for power, he stands as a mirror to Peacemaker's darkest self. Where Peacemaker once killed without hesitation, Full Nelson kills without a shred of remorse. Where Peacemaker once believed in justice, however flawed, Nelson thrives on destruction. He is not a soldier. He is not a man following orders. He is chaos given form, and he will stop at nothing to burn everything Peacemaker has fought to protect. Their clash is not only about survival but about identity. Who is Peacemaker when faced with someone who represents everything he fears he might become? Meanwhile, the team that once stood shoulder to shoulder begins to splinter. Harcourt is driven by duty but torn by exhaustion, carrying the scars of battles that never seem to end. Vigilante, always unpredictable, cracks jokes in the middle of chaos, but even he cannot hide the pain of watching friends drift apart. Adebayo, the heart of the group, struggles with guilt, knowing her choices may have set all of this in motion. And in the shadows, mistrust brews because in a fight like this, betrayal is not just possible, it feels inevitable. The finale sets the stage with a tension so sharp it feels like a knife pressed against the throat. Peacemaker looks around at the people who once gave him hope, and all he sees are faces filled with doubt. The bonds that once kept them alive are weakening, and every second wasted brings them closer to disaster. Yet even in the darkest silence, there is a spark of stubborn fire that refuses to die. Peacemaker knows he cannot let it end this way. He may not be the perfect leader. He may not even be the perfect man, but for once in his life, he wants to do something that truly matters. The world has thrown everything at him: betrayal, loss, doubt, and death, and somehow he has stood tall through it all. But this time, it feels different. This time, there may not be a way back. As the storm gathers and the enemy closes in, one truth becomes clear. The final chapter of Peacemaker's story will not be written by fate, by chance, or by orders from above. It will be written by the choices he makes now. And so, as the shadows of war rise, Peacemaker takes a breath. The gun feels heavy in his hand, his helmet reflects the fire burning around him, and for a brief moment, he allows himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, he can be more than the sum of his sins. The season finale begins not with victory, but with a question that only Peacemaker can answer in the heat of battle. Will he be the man who destroys everything, or the man who finally saves it? The calm never lasts long in Peacemaker's world. As the storm brews, the cracks in the team grow wider. Trust is a fragile weapon, and in this final hour, it feels like the sharpest blade pointed at their own throats. Harcourt tries to hold the group together, her voice steady but her heart fraying at the edges. She knows the mission must go on, but she also knows the cost. She has lost too many already, and the fear of losing more gnaws at her every word. Vigilante, reckless as ever, tries to fill the silence with jokes, his mask hiding the truth. He is terrified, more than he would ever admit. Even in his chaos, there is loyalty, but loyalty without direction can be as dangerous as betrayal. Adebayo, once the voice of hope, now finds herself drowning in doubt. Every decision she made, every secret she held back, has led them here. Her guilt is a shadow that refuses to leave, whispering that this is her fault, that her mistakes have doomed them all. Yet in her chest beats the heart of someone who still believes in Peacemaker, even when he struggles to believe in himself. And then there is Ikonomo's quiet, observant, carrying the weight of being underestimated for too long. He may not be the strongest or the fastest, but in a world on fire, the underestimated often become the most dangerous. The enemy moves with precision. Phil Nelson is not a villain who hides behind speeches or grand promises. He is a force of destruction, an unstoppable tide that smashes through everything in his path. His soldiers follow him not out of loyalty, but out of fear. And fear is a power stronger than any oath. Every step he takes feels like thunder shaking the ground, and with each blow he delivers, the line between justice and revenge begins to blur. He knows Peacemaker better than anyone else, because in many ways, they are the same. Two sides of a broken mirror, reflecting a lifetime of violence and regret. The clash is inevitable. Peacemaker knows it. The team knows it. The audience can feel it in every heartbeat of the rising soundtrack. The finale isn't just setting up a fight, it's setting up a war of ideals. On one side, a man who has clawed his way toward redemption, desperate to prove he is more than a killer. On the other side, a monster who embraces that very identity, proud of his sins, reveling in his destruction. When they collide, it won't just be bullets and fists, it will be the battle of what defines a man, of what defines a hero, of what it truly means to stand for peace. But battles are never clean, and this one is no different. The mission splinters into chaos as betrayal rears its head. Someone within the team cannot be trusted, and the whispers of betrayal slice deeper than any wound. The tension between loyalty and survival stretches them thin, forcing choices that will scar them forever. Can they fight together, or will suspicion tear them apart before the first shot is fired? Each silence feels heavier, each glance sharper. As the finale builds toward the breaking point, the world around them becomes a cage of fire and shadows. Explosions shatter the night, the air burns with smoke, and the soundtrack of war begins to play. For the first time, Peacemaker hesitates not out of fear of dying, but out of fear of failing. His life has always been defined by orders, by missions, by the ghosts of those who told him who to be. But here, in the chaos, he stands with no orders left to follow. The only voice guiding him now is his own. And that is the scariest voice of all. The rise of tension is not in the battle alone, but in the question it asks: how far is too far in the name of peace? If killing one saves 100, does it make you a hero? Or does it make you the same as the monster you fight? Phil Nelson has his answer. He believes destruction is the only path. Peacemaker, haunted by his past, must decide whether peace is worth the blood that will be spilled tonight. And so the stage is set. The battlefield glows with firelight, the air shakes with the thunder of weapons, and somewhere in the middle of it all, Peacemaker takes his stand. The finale teases us not with certainty, but with suspense, because in this fight, there are no guarantees. Not everyone will make it out alive. And when the smoke clears, the world will know the price of peace. The night turns darker, and for the first time, it feels as if the world itself is holding its breath. Phil Nelson steps into the chaos like a storm given flesh. His presence is not just a threat, it is a declaration. He doesn't need armies to prove his power, though they march behind him like shadows pulled from the earth. His strength is his conviction, his unshakable belief that destruction is the purest form of peace. To him, order is a cage, morality is weakness, and mercy is a lie people tell themselves to sleep at night. He looks at Peacemaker and sees not an enemy, but a reflection of man still chained to guilt, still clinging to a dream of being better. Nelson doesn't want to defeat him. He wants to break him, to strip away the illusion that there is any difference between them, and slowly, painfully, it begins to work. Each strike Peacemaker throws feels heavier, less certain. His arms swing with the weight of doubt. His heart stumbles under the pressure of old wounds reopening. Memories claw at him, his father's voice, the ghosts of missions past, the endless trail of bodies he left behind in the name of peace. He remembers every time he pulled the trigger, every time someone told him he was nothing but a blunt weapon dressed as a man. Full Nelson doesn't just fight with fists. He fights with words, with truths twisted sharp enough to cut. You and I, his voice seems to thunder through the battlefield. We are the same. You just hide behind a prettier lie. The team watches as their leader falters, the man who always stood tall now caught in the storm of his own conscience. Harcourt yells for him to push forward. Vigilante charges headfirst into chaos to protect him, and Adebayo's voice trembles as she begs him to believe in himself. But Peacemaker hears nothing beyond the roar of his own thoughts. Doubt is louder than any explosion, and it coils around him like chains dragging him down. For the first time, he wonders if he has been wrong all along. What if peace can only be born through destruction? What if every life he spared was a mistake? Full Nelson feeds on that weakness. Every smirk, every cruel word is a dagger meant to dig deeper into Peacemaker's spirit. He doesn't just want to win, he wants Peacemaker to surrender, to admit that the mask, the symbol, the mission were all lies. The battle shifts from survival to identity, a test of who Peacemaker truly is when stripped of his bravado. Nelson's fists slam like hammers, and the world shakes with each blow. But the real damage happens inside Peacemaker's chest as the fire rages around them. The team tries to hold the line, but their faith begins to fracture. What happens when the leader falls? What happens when the man you followed no longer believes in himself? Vigilante, reckless and loyal, fights harder than he ever has, desperate to prove that their bond is unbreakable. Harcourt, her face carved from stone, refuses to let fear control her, but even she feels the cracks spreading. Adebayo, torn between guilt and love for the man who gave her a second chance, becomes the anchor trying to keep him from drowning in doubt. Yet none of them can reach him, not while Nelson has his grip on Peacemaker's soul. The world narrows to a single choice: break or rise. And in that choice lays the weight of every life they have ever saved, every mission they have ever endured. The finale tightens the rope around Peacemaker's throat, daring him to find a reason to keep fighting. Nelson laughs, the kind of laugh that feels like thunder tearing through the sky. A laugh that dares Peacemaker to admit he is nothing but a killer who pretends to wear a noble mask, and for a moment, just a moment, it seems Nelson might be right. Peacemaker falls to one knee, his helmet cracked, his body trembling under the weight of it all. The battlefield goes silent, as if even the flames are waiting for his answer. This is not just the breaking of a man. It is the breaking of a symbol, of a promise, of hope itself. But in silence, clarity often arrives. Peacemaker lifts his head, blooded but unbowed, and in his eyes there is a flicker not of victory yet, but of defiance. The battle is far from over. The storm may have broken him once, but heroes are not born in ease. They are forged in the fire of failure, and the finale has only just begun to test him. The firelight paints the battlefield in red and gold, as if the world itself is burning to witness the final confrontation. The smoke clings to the air, thick with the weight of every choice that has led here. Peacemaker stands in the wreckage, battered, broken, yet not defeated. His helmet cracked, his armor scarred, but his spirit once buried under doubt now begins to rise with a clarity stronger than any weapon. He sees Full Nelson not as a mirror, not as destiny, but as a warning of what he could become if he surrendered to the darkness. For the first time, the noise of doubt fades, replaced by a single, unwavering truth. He is not fighting for perfection, or redemption, or even forgiveness. He is fighting for the people beside him, for the fragile chance that peace can mean something more than death. Full Nelson charges, a force of chaos wrapped in muscle and rage. Each step trembles through the ground, each roar shakes the air. He believes victory is inevitable, that no man can resist the pull of his own darkness. But Peacemaker does not move back. He plants his feet, steadies his breath, and faces the storm head-on. This is no longer about survival. This is about defiance. This is about proving that a man defined by blood can still carve out a different ending. The clash is thunder meeting steel. Fists crack like gunfire, the air filled with the sound of two lives colliding with everything they are. Nelson strikes with fury, relentless, monstrous, but Peacemaker strikes with something far more dangerous: purpose. Every hit carries the weight of every promise he ever made to himself, to his team, to the ghosts of those he could not save. The team rallies behind him, pushing back against Nelson's soldiers with a fire born of desperation and loyalty. Harcourt's aim never wavers. Vigilante fights like a man and afraid to die if it means his friend survives. And Adebayo becomes the heart of the storm, reminding Peacemaker with every shout, every cry, that he is not alone. The tide begins to turn. Nelson, once untouchable, feels the cracks forming. His rage grows, but his certainty falters. He sees in Peacemaker not weakness, but resilience, and resilience is something he cannot crush. The finale builds with every strike, with every moment where Peacemaker refuses to give in. Sweat and blood blur his vision, but his resolve sharpens like steel. And in that final instant, when it feels as if the world itself might break, Peacemaker delivers the blow that is not just physical but symbolic a rejection of Nelson's truth. A defiance of the belief that peace can only be written in blood. Silence falls in the aftermath, broken only by the crackle of fire and the labored breaths of the survivors. Nelson lies defeated, his shadow no longer looming over them, his voice silenced at last. But victory does not feel clean. It never does. The cost is written in the faces of the team, bruised, blooded, but alive. They have won, but not without scars. And those scars will stay reminders of what it means to fight, of what it means to choose peace even when the world demands war. Peacemaker stands over the ruins, his body trembling, his spirit unbroken. The mask of bravado has fallen away, leaving only the truth. He is not perfect, he is not pure, but he is something real. For the first time, he allows himself to believe that being a hero isn't about never failing, it's about standing back up again and again. No matter how many times the world tries to break you, the camera would linger on the final moments, the smoke clearing. The team regrouping, Peacemaker's cracked helmet lying in the dirt like a reminder of what has been lost and what has been gained. And then a single line echoing like thunder. Peace never comes easy, but it's worth fighting for. The season finale closes not with certainty, but with a promise. The war is over, but the battle for what comes next has only begun. And as the screen fades to black, one thing is undeniable: Peacemaker's story is far from finished.